Nobody in the town of Katowice remembered exactly when Piotr started looking older than his father. Some said it began after his first year in the mines. Others said the coal dust aged every man eventually. Deep beneath the southern Poland, far below the freezing streets and gray apartment blocks of Silesia, Piotr spent his life underground inside one of the old coal mines, still operating despite decades of accidents, collapses, and deaths. Mining accidents and deadly cave-ins continue to affect workers in Polish coal mines, especially in the Silesia region. Piotr was only 22 years old, but he coughed like an old man. His face was permanently covered with black dust that never fully washed away. His hands were rough and cracked from years of gripping rusted machinery and broken metal rails. Dark circles hung beneath his eyes from endless overnight shifts underground. Every morning before sunrise, he walked toward the mine wearing the same damaged helmet his older brother once used before a methane explosion burned half his body years earlier. Not because Piotr loved the work, because there was almost nothing else left in town. The factories had closed, the younger people were leaving Poland for work abroad, and the mines, dangerous, old, and slowly dying, were still paying enough money to keep families alive. His apartment had broken heating, water stains on the ceiling, mold growing behind the kitchen walls, and coal dust covering nearly everything inside. Only a small television, his mother's medicine on the table, and unpaid electricity bills stacked beside the window. Underground, the mine felt alive. Metal groaned constantly inside the darkness. Dust filled the air. The elevator shook violently, descending hundreds of meters below the earth. Sometimes the walls cracked loudly enough to silence everyone instantly. The older miners always listened carefully after those sounds, because sometimes the mountain gave warnings before it killed people. Piotr worked 12-hour shifts, cutting through black rock beside men who no longer believed they would survive long enough to retire. Poland has experienced repeated deadly mining accidents caused by tremors, methane explosions, and collapses in recent years. One night, during winter, Piotr and several workers were sent deeper underground after supervisors detected instability near one of the tunnels. The company wanted production to continue anyway. They always did. Hours later, the tremor came, without warning. The lights exploded into darkness. The ground shook violently. Metal screamed. Then the tunnel collapsed. Dust swallowed everything. For several seconds, nobody could breathe. When the noise finally stopped, Piotr found himself trapped beneath the earth with 4 other miners inside a narrow section of tunnel barely large enough to sit upright. The radio was dead. The emergency lights barely worked. Somewhere beyond the collapsed rock, men screamed for help. Then, even the screaming stopped. For 3 days, the trapped miners waited in darkness. They shared small amounts of dirty water dripping from the ceiling. One man prayed non-stop. Another slowly lost his mind and began speaking to people who were not there. Piotr kept thinking about his mother sitting alone upstairs in their apartment, waiting for him to return home after work. On the 4th day, the knocking sounds from rescue teams finally disappeared. Silence returned underground. Complete silence. And for the first time, Piotr understood something terrifying. The company might stop searching long before they stopped being alive. Far above them, snow continued falling over Silesia. People still walked through the streets. Trains still moved through Katowice. And somewhere inside the dark earth beneath Poland, a 22-year-old miner named Piotr slowly disappeared, where sunlight would never reach him again.